Climbers, I don't want to see you make these very common promotion mistakes I see indie artists and the music industry making every single day. This episode is going to change everything.
Let's go.
Welcome to the climb! This is a show dedicated to helping singers, songwriters, and indie artists like you create leverage in the music business. It's all about leverage these days, guys. Because the good news is, it's not about gatekeepers. It's not about hope. It's not even so much about luck anymore. You get to continue to keep working. Nobody can tell you no for as long as you want to, and continue to improve to the point where you start creating leverage. And when you do, everybody's going to come out of the woodwork and want to work with you. Man, I was just talking with a couple people about some of the record deals that they had, and they were talking about the 80-20s and the 70-30s, which are like phenomenal record deals these days.
Oh, yeah.
After the label gets 70% and you get 30%, and all the money that they start to generate, they get 100% of that money with recoup, right?
Yeah.
Until you start participating in it. But like the recoup doesn't happen from 100% of the dollars coming in, because they're still taking their 70%. The recoup happens out of your 30%.
That's right.
Or your 20%, or your 10%, or the most common, which is 5%. You keep doing it. And so there's no leverage there. You don't have those deals if you have leverage. That's why we created this podcast, guys. C.L.I.M.B, creating leverage in the music business. That's a Baxternym for my good friend and co-host who, guess what? Lyricist, go figure. Words. He do words good.
Me do words good.
It's a Baxternym from my good friend and co-host, Mr. Brent Baxter, who's an award-winning hit songwriter with cuts by Alan Jackson, Randy Travis, Lady A, Joe Nichols. He's got number ones in Southern Gospel. He's got number ones in Bluegrass, top tens in Texas radio, top tens in Australian radio. Listen, he can write it. He can help you. And that's really what you care about, not what his accolades are, but what he can do for you, which is, and this is the promise, he's going to help you write like a pro. He's going to help you do business like a pro. And once those two things are working, man, he's going to introduce you to the pros that can take you to the next level and help you continue to climb. And you can find Brent very easily at songwritingpro.com.
And I would like to introduce you to my co-host, Johnny Dwinell. Johnny owns Daredevil Production. They're breaking artists digitally by identifying new fans through data. Yeah, it's complicated, but those brains, that's what keeps his hair standing on end. If you're an artist looking to increase your streams, blow up your video views, sell more live show tickets, and get discovered by new fans, TV, and music industry pros, then Daredevil Production can help. Daredevil has worked with multi-platinum artists like Colin Ray, Tracy Lawrence, Ty Herndon, and Andy Griggs, just to name a few. You can find Johnny at daredevilproduction.com. That's production. It's singular. And it's singular because there is no S, because there is no other Johnny D. What's up, my friend? You staying warm?
I'm staying warm, man. It's cold today. It's crazy cold.
It is. I just told you, it's 3 degrees here, and we've been on snow days. And to help pass the time, my wife has started baking. So the last 2 days has been cinnamon rolls. And today, it's her first day doing pretzels. And look at this sucker. It looks freaking amazing. And I'm going to.
Oh my God. I'm so hungry right now. Like, that's like my sourdough pretzels with like salt on them and stuff that you eat with mustard, like at a ballpark.
So I'm just going to take my first bite.
Oh my God.
I'm married up. That's awesome.
I'm jelly right now. Super jelly.
Man, that's good. Good job, Emily. I'm married up. So over here, me chewing, it's warming my soul and my cold bones out here in my office.
Oh my God. So, hey man, last night, it's CRS week this week. And last night, talking to another artist that I know that's up and coming, right? A writer. She's doing really good, getting ready to like make a play here, And so what are they doing? Spending a lot of time at CRS and talking about all, trying to get everything lined up that they need to do. I'm like, what's that? Like, radio promotion, PR, all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, I need to do this episode. I need to just talk about like, what we're going to do in this episode, guys, is just go deep dive and break down the relationship dynamics between you and the person that you want to work with, or you or the person that you want to work with, and what they're going to the platform they're going to use to help you, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So like playlists, PR, touring, all these kinds of things. And there's a difference between the efficacy, right? Between the results that you will get with the same service as a baby artist versus what a brand name will get.
Yeah.
And so when I break this down into very granular fashion, I think it's going to help you make some decisions a little bit better with your money. But before we get into that, let's
Yes.
take care of some business first. We want you to follow the podcast wherever you choose to consume podcasts. Check us out on YouTube as well. We're a little bit behind on the episodes there, but once I get through all this video editing, big lump that's moving through the snake right now, then we'll get back to that.
That was the visual. Thank you for that.
Yeah. But we want you to join the C.L.I.M.B community, guys, facebook.com, and just search for the C.L.I.M.B community. This is a thriving community of indie artists, singers, songwriters, indie musicians, and everybody's in there supporting each other, meeting each other, connecting with each other, man. And it really works. Like, people have marketing questions, they get answers. People have production questions, they get answers. Co-writes, many co-writes, international co-writes have been hooked up in this group that have been successful. They've gotten cuts, they've gotten syncs, that have gotten all kinds of this going on. So it's a really it's a warm place, man. We want you to be there. It's not a ghost town. You just have to go find the group. You have to ask to be let in. You have to answer 3 questions. That basically now the vetting process for me is pretty much over. I mean, if you answer the 3 questions correctly, right, like which are subjective but require something more than a bot can do, then you're in. Although I have to say, like, one of the questions, what was the first concert you ever went to?
Yeah.
And we seem to get a stream of freaking answers of haven't been to it yet.
Wow.
From people that are like legit. I'm like, how the hell are you an artist and you've never been to see a live act before? Like,
right. That's, yeah.
Or how are you a songwriter? How are you interested in the music industry and you've never seen a live show before? Like, I don't know if we worded that incorrectly or what, but
it was like,
it feels like it's worded right to me.
Hey,
like,
I just want to say, maybe they think it's their concert.
Oh, maybe they do. Maybe that's what they're assuming.
Maybe
so I think
that's it.
We need to reword that. Like, what was the first concert you ever saw as a fan?
Yeah.
And
or we have listeners on the moon, which is cool.
Yeah, cool. Or they're all under the same rock. Like, I don't know what the hell. Because at first I thought, well, this is BS. Like, this person's not a writer, but it just seems the other answers seem legit. So yeah. I looked it up and I just like let it pass. I'm like, okay, there's something I don't understand here. I don't know what it is, but yeah, I think maybe it's the wording. It's our fault.
Maybe
for
so.
Sure.
Maybe that's
Anyway, listen. One chance for those questions, we let everybody in, guys. And I mean, I'll regularly post different news articles that I find that I think are really important to you. And man, you can ask us questions. I mean, literally. The community's been around for so long that whenever anybody asks a question about marketing or songwriting or this or that, like, you get a slew of answers from the community. And by the time I see it, I'm like, yeah, just pointing the finger up going, what they said. Like, it's right. You know, it's what I would answer. So I love that about our community, by the way. And don't come in to sell anything. If you do, we'll chop your frickin' head off in front of your children. There you go. That's all.
There we go. That's another visual. Johnny bringing the visuals today. All right.
So I'm going to say about that. So now, what can you talk about in there? So first of all, anything that's for the whole group that's essentially not about you, but for the whole group can be shared in the main feed. On Mondays, man, we have New Music Monday. Put your new tunes in there as a comment and let us love on you. On Thursdays, it's Gig Alert. So if you're playing out, let us know. And you never know. I mean, you know, sometimes people come out if they're in your area, right? And Wednesdays is Wednesday Wins, where we just talk about our wins and we share those wins on the pod, actually. So Brent, what do we got?
All right, so we don't have time to share all of them, but every Wednesday we post, it's called New Heights, Picture of Mountains, and as we celebrate your wins, we want to hear from you. So we're going to go with a Texas theme for this one, because there are a couple ones from the great state of Texas, so like, why not make it a thing? So climber Charles Weimer, He says, I released 1985, which is the name of the song, country version, as our 10th radio single to Texas radio, featuring one of the coolest dudes on the planet, Jarrett Reddick, who released the original version under Bowling for Soup. We made a country, and it's been a live show favorite. So cool, and congrats,
Nice.
and man, hope that climbs up the charts. And also, let's see, climber Billy Alford says, playing NRG Stadium at the Houston Rodeo next week and the 12th and 14th of March. So come on.
Whoa. I think that's 75,000 people, if I'm not mistaken.
You know, it's got a few butts and seats.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah, and then of course, you know, because it's a community, Charles Reimer, posted, you know, left a comment. It goes, fantastic. Our band will be doing the Third Coast Cookers 10 on the 1st. So look at that.
There you go. I love it.
Congrats, y'all. Keep on climbing.
That is Nashville. That's Third Coast is Nashville. So, all right. So let's get into this, guys. The mistakes that I see. Gosh, I mean, this is rampant throughout the industry. You know, the artists that are farther along on their journey than you are right now, that have the investor that you want to have, you know, that have the producer that you want to work with. I mean, these names that you know, this is happening here too. Okay, so let's go in and talk about this, because what's really changed with radio kind of going down to the toilet is the ability to regularly and
predictably,
reliably break artists, break good art, right? Compelling art. Radio was so good at that, you know, for 100 years, and now it's not. And so we have a lot of people, there's a lot of confusion, and it's really not gonna clear up, guys. And I've come to this realization in the last 2 weeks. This isn't gonna end. The waters are gonna remain muddy until the bottom falls out of radio. Right? Until radio is not an option.
Right.
Not because of the right choice or the wrong choice, but it's just not a choice.
Reality. Yeah.
It's no longer there. And then everybody's going to have to figure out a way to do it. Right now, we're way ahead of the game on that.
Yep.
But man, until then, it's you know, I just see artists doing this and spending money, a lot of money in the wrong places, and it's not working. And I mean, just
looking for fans in all the wrong places.
Yeah. So, you know, we had Brent Michael Wood on, right, before, and he was up here. He's getting ready to release his next song, which is, man, what a great song, by the way. It's super badass. Like, I mean, he's just a little more on the rock side, and that's right up my alley, you know. I just love that song. I was there when they were shooting a music video for it, and he shot some more of that same content that we talked about on that episode that we're going to use to promote it. And then right after that, I had Scott Lindsay. Scott Lindsay brings in his buddy that's hanging out with him, because it is, you know, it's CRS this week. That's Country Radio Seminar, right? So for those of you that have never heard of this or unfamiliar with it, I mean, it's a crazy week. Okay, it's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It's at the Omni, and every single program director and DJ from all the radio stations across the country who can afford the plane tickets to send their staff here are here.
Yeah.
Okay. And because, I mean, you talk about like the Omni Hotel being like a beehive of every radio relationship that an artist needs, all in the same place at the same time. All the artists are in town too.
They are.
Like, they book their tours around this, right? Because there's a lot of glad handing, a lot of kissing hands and shaking babies, and relationship deepening, relationship making, these kinds of things. And so it's you can get a lot of work done in just a couple days because they're all here. And I mean, it used to be a very, very powerful thing. I can't believe it's still going on, but it is. They're still charging for it. People are still showing up. And you know, I mean, it is good for just general music business relationship. Dennis and Diana are out, the managers that I worked with Josh Roy on. They're out here with a couple of their artists, which is fun. So, you know, a lot of new faces, stuff like that. So that's kind of what's going on. You know, one of the biggest problems that I see with indie artists who are truly ready to promote, right? Their EP's ready. This is a big. Oh, well, I'm sorry. Let me finish the other story first. I got sidetracked. So Scott Lindsay, he's getting ready to release, formerly of the Nash Villains, and he's a former major label artist, getting ready to put out his new indie effort, and he brought a buddy with him, and it's a guy named Tim Gaines, right? He's the lead singer of Due West, who's a former major label act, okay? And he brought him here. Why? Because he's like, you need to talk to him, right? Because we sat down and talked about all the radio that they're doing and all the problems they're having. It's not working,
Yeah.
And I asked him, like, and they've got, major management. They have like the whole thing. And I asked him, and I said, well, there's got to be a payoff somewhere. Right? Where's the ROI for you on radio? Right? Like, where are you getting the most spins? Are you selling more tickets there?
Mm-hmm.
Is it translating to Spotify? And I still didn't get a straight answer. Like, I never do. Because I don't think anybody really knows, for sure. But they just know that that's what they have to do. And the level of frustration with Tim was high.
Yeah.
Just of trying to be heard, right?
Yeah.
Of trying. This is a real freaking artist, man, and they're trying to be heard, not just played, but heard. And so how did that, what can we do? So we got a meeting set up with him too. And that kind of prompted me to go down this list here because, the artist I was talking about at the very beginning, I was at the Freak Show last night. And God, she's a younger artist. She's of drinking age, I believe, but brand new, like gonna put out her first EP, and parents are behind it, and she might not be a drinking age actually, but it's
around there. Yeah,
she's out of school. You know what I mean? Like it's so.
She's out of daycare.
So anyway, they're all caught up in the CRS thing, and I just was like, "You're going to go to radio with this?" And she's like, "Yeah," and then mom's like, "What don't I know?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, okay, let's have a conversation." So anyway,
C.L.I.M.B episode number 1, no, number 2 actually. Yeah.
So, and so, by the way, with Scott Lindsay, we shot a bunch of that same content I did with Brent, and I'm excited to see what happens with that. I think he's got a really solid first release coming out, so it's gonna be fun. But one of the biggest problems I see with indie artists who are ready to promote, right? They're ready to start making a play, and maybe it's their first one, maybe it's their second or third one, and they've been in the game for a while, and they're solid indie artists, but the problem is that the artists and their teams don't fully understand the nuance between marketing a brand name artist and marketing what essentially boils down to a debut artist's debut release.
Yeah.
Right? Is that redundant? If it's a debut artist, of course it's a debut release, right? I guess, but
close enough. Yeah.
But there's a difference in the way the same platforms are consumed, in the return on the investment that you get. And so I want to just unpack all this stuff for you guys and really get down to the weeds so that you can make some good decisions for yourself. So, playlists, terrestrial radio, headline shows, direct support slots for headliners on tour, and PR are consumed and internalized by fans of big brand name artists differently than a debut artist or a baby act. Those two words are interchangeable, right?
Yeah.
So if you're not a debut artist, if it's not your first EP, then you're a baby act, okay? So therefore, playlists, terrestrial radio, headline shows, direct support slots, and PR have vastly different ROIs, vastly different returns on the investment for bigger major label and bigger indie artists than they do for baby acts. So where's the line in the sand for you, right? Where's the break-even point for you with each of these promotion platforms? So let's unpack each of these platforms and analyze their efficacy for bigger names versus smaller names. We'll look at cost, we'll look at consumer consumption of the platform and consumer consumption for big name artists and versus baby artists, okay? So first off, let's quantify where you sit in this artist totem pole within the music industry, okay? If you're not a high six-figure artist yet, grossing north of $700,000 a year, right? You're a baby act. Even if you've been doing this for decades, even if you make a living at it, and all your friends are famous, okay, you're still a baby act. So hopefully this information will help you realize the size of your brand and the marquee value that comes with that, and it will help you choose which promotion doors make the most sense for you. Okay. Because again, everything continues to change, right? Secondly, please keep in mind, I'm not advocating against any kind of exposure on any of these platforms. Exposure is fantastic. What I'm clarifying with this episode is that the cost of the exposure, the value of each of these platforms will bring to your brand, how that cost stacks up against your indie artist budget, i.e., is the juice going to be worth the squeeze? And how the public consumes the exposure that you're wanting to get for a baby artist versus a bigger brand name. Okay. With this information, you can make better decisions and hopefully save money on some of these bigger mistakes that are just too common. And finally, here, the last thing, we're going to be discussing what makes the most sense for you and your limited budget as a baby artist. I want you to keep in mind that even if money were no object, even if you had a major label budget, it's not just about money and management of money, like getting the most bang for your buck, because many of these promotion options still don't make sense for baby acts that have all the money. Okay, major label or not. Remember, and I just want to remind everybody, this is shocking, okay? But the majors, admittedly, if you listen to any freaking podcasts, you can't have not stumbled across this. The majors aren't breaking artists anymore. They're acquiring tons of small businesses, right? And growing them, like small businesses, meaning like bigger than $700,000 a year into seven figures. And they're growing those audiences, but they are not taking the young, shy, introverted Bruce Springsteen from Freehold, New Jersey, and turning him into Bruce Springsteen, an icon.
Right.
Or Bon Jovi, or that. It's not happening. So, I encourage you to kind of remember, if you were alive in the 90s, remember the old hook from NBC's Thursday night programming on primetime. Look through that lens. In the 90s, and that lineup, they had like Mad About You and then Friends and Seinfeld. And when they ran reruns, on any given week, they said, hey, if you haven't seen it, it's new to you. So I don't care how long you've been doing this artist thing. Most people haven't seen you. So you're new to them. You're a debut artist in their eyes, right? Even though you're on your third record, they've never heard of you. The broadcast platform dogma that used to determine the life cycle of an album or a single and an artist don't exist anymore. Okay, so just take all that crap and throw it out the window. So let's break these down. Let's start with PR. You're looking at somewhere between $1,500 to $5,000 a month, depending on how good your PR agent is. Okay, the press that you get as an indie artist is going to be different press than a brand name artist, right? And the consumers are going to, I'm going to put this in air quotes, consume your press differently than they will an artist that they know, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So a PR agent's job is to get you exposed on every platform that they can, on every medium, right? A good PR agent will have tons of relationships with local, regional, and national broadcast platforms, like program directors and DJs from terrestrial radio stations, magazines, the editors of magazines, online publishing, online blog platforms, along with bookers, producers, and talent on local, regional, and national TV shows. A great PR agent has media relationships, a firm understanding of messaging, and broadcast communication strategies and tactics that work. right? As with any relationship, the depth and importance of that relationship depends on how much value each person is bringing to the relationship. Duh,
Yeah.
right? So let's take a minute to unpack and ponder the relationship between a great PR agent and any given media outlet. So, a media outlet, right? What does the media outlet want?
They want eyeballs. They want attention of the consumer so they can sell
Yes.
ads.
Yes, they want
Yes.
traffic, eyeballs, and subscribers. So
Yep.
why? Because that's how they sell
That's how
ads.
they
That's
pay
how
the
they make
bills.
money,
Yep.
and that's how they pay their mortgages and put their kids through college. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What does the media outlet need to produce what they want, which is the traffic, the eyeballs, the subscribers?
They need to have people on that people want to see that will draw those. Like they need people with an audience, with interested
Yes.
fans, right?
Yes.
In other words,
So
they're
if
not in the business of trying to help your career. They're in the business of trying to help their career, and you're only there because you can help their career. Am I right?
right, right. So, if the media outlet is a bigger platform, they need bigger brand names to bring in that traffic.
Because they need a
They
lot
have a
more traffic.
reputation. Yeah, they have a
Mhm.
reputation. Um, if they bring in too many smaller brands, right? Even if they're from record labels, right? If they have a whole episode or a whole issue of nothing but debut artists, right? That's going to be the worst selling.
Yeah. Issue or
Worst
whatever.
selling magazine or whatever. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
gonna be the one with the least amount of traffic, right?
Yeah.
um, so that also hurts their reputation, their
Mhm.
importance, right? If the media outlet is a smaller platform, then they need and are open to any kind of traffic because they need something, right?
Yeah.
And anything they can get because they're a baby platform and they
Mhm.
need to grow their audience.
Yeah.
So, what value does the media outlet bring to the relationship between the media outlet and the PR agent?
So what value does the media outlet bring? They bring eyeballs and earballs that may, get turned on to the PR agent's client, right?
Yeah,
They
they
have a
bring
platform.
exposure.
They have a
They bring
platform as well.
exposure.
Yeah.
Yeah. The size of the audience and the reputation of the media outlet are what determines the amount of exposure and the weight that exposure will bring to the PR agent's client,
Mhm.
aka the artist, right? What's the catch, right? Well, there's only so much real estate that provides exposure. There's only so many articles in a magazine, so many articles in an online magazine, so many interview time slots, so many radio playlist slots each day, each week, or each month. So many interviews I can do on Good Morning America,
Yeah.
or Good Morning Tulsa, right? Like
Mhm.
there's only so much they can do. So it's a tyranny of space, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about the PR agent. What does the PR agent want?
They want to get results for their clients so they can keep charging better and better rates, right? They want results.
Exactly. Yeah, to serve their artist clients enough to continually make their artist clients happy, so they continually get paid by that agent, right?
Mhm. If nothing
What
else,
does
they want to keep their artists busy so they think they're making progress.
yeah?
Because it's so
Well,
hard
I
to
mean,
measure some of this stuff. They're like, I've got you on so many things. They're like, great. Haven't even had time to really look and see if this is helping.
yeah,
But
exactly.
you must be working hard because I'm busy.
So,
Anyway.
well, I mean, listen, I think there's always going to be PR agents. I think PR agents are important. The question
Mhm.
is it important for you right now, right?
Yeah.
So, what value does the PR agent bring to the relationship between the PR agent and the media outlet?
The PR agent has, they're like a good go-between to hopefully the media outlet and artists that have, or whoever that have audience that
Yeah,
are going
so
to
they're
bring some
bringing
traffic. They're bringing
right?
traffic.
Like my client is going to bring you traffic, which is
Right.
what you want. I have what you want with my
Mhm.
client right here. Okay.
Yep.
So I love that you said the go between that you're we're on exactly the same page. The PR agent is essentially the media outlet's broker
Yeah.
to newsworthy or click-worthy artists,
Yep.
right? Newsworthy and click-worthy means traffic.
Yep.
Okay. There's attention that's going to be paid. The bigger the bigger the artist that the PR agent brings, the more traffic goes to the media outlet, and everybody wins.
Yep.
Right. So now let's talk about your brand, Climbers. How do you fit in to this symbiotic relationship between a media outlet and a PR agent? You don't. You don't right now. You don't really bring any traffic, right? Which means that currently you're an asshole in this relationship.
Yes. Yeah. Whose problem are you solving in this relationship?
Yeah. Yeah.
They can solve your problem, on the media outlet side by providing a platform that's going to have some built-in eyeballs. But are you solving their problem?
No, you're actually exacerbating it.
Yeah.
Right? Because, I mean, listen, this has become, I can't believe it's taken like this past recent election in the United States for people to, at the top of the food chain in the country that are pulling the levers here to get it through their head that, digital media is where it's at now.
Oh, heck yeah.
All the money they spent on Kamala Harris, love or hate her, whatever it is, doesn't matter. But they spent like more than 4 times the amount of money pushing Kamala Harris on broadcast media, and it didn't work by a long shot.
And ads on, I mean, you watch Cocomelon on YouTube, and I had Kamala up in my grill like every day. I'm like, Hazel's too young to vote.
I mean,
Kamala.
that's what they're spending on, like ads.
So
that's what I'm talking about.
It was ads.
So there's all this, and you know what?
They spent their ads off.
There's been so many different, pontifications now after the fact where they're like, wow, she would have done, more long form.
She would have done Rogan
like
if she
Joe Rogan and
Theo
stuff
Vaughn
like that,
and,
like the All In podcast, like some of these platforms that have huge. I mean, Joe Rogan has a far bigger audience than CNN. Do you get that?
No.
Like that's crazy. Okay. You can love them or hate them, but the numbers are the numbers.
And
I mean, you don't get $100 million from freaking Spotify because they really like you and they want to help you. No, they get it because you have that kind of grip, that kind of audience. And
two, it's an audience that doesn't just turn Rogan on while they're, making dinner. Whereas people may do with TV, whatever your network, Fox, CNN, it doesn't matter. Like they just have it on.
They're listening to it, right?
On. But Rogan, I'd say that's a more engaged audience too. Like they want to hear what's being said.
Yeah. So, but the idea being that like the game has changed. You know what I mean? All these things that used to work aren't working anymore. Not even for politicians. Not for brands like Coca-Cola and Ford and Chevrolet, and not for you, right? So the smaller platforms, the smaller media outlets will interview you, but you'll likely have a bigger social media presence than the media platform. I think every artist I've ever worked with that we provided, a connection to PR for, that spent money on PR, the platforms they ended up on, it was atrocious. Like, these are, a 13-year-old girl with better freaking social media than the magazine that's interviewing her.
Yeah.
Right. That's crazy. So, you'll get some press from the outlets that really don't have an audience, right? And therefore, the weight of what they publish is non-existent. Okay.
Yeah.
So the cost is the same, $1,500 to $5,000 per month
for a PR person. You're talking about it for a PR person.
Yeah. So let's talk about the value. Okay, so first of all, let's talk about consumer consumption. Right? We have to think about how these things work. We have to get out of our heads. We have to get out of the, the confirmation bias that we have. And you have to understand the difference because, by the way, your confirmation bias, not based on your own experience with your brand and PR. It's based on what you saw happen to Tim McGraw.
Yeah.
Or what you saw happen to Reba McEntire, or what you saw happen to one of your besties who's now famous. Wow, they get all this press. That must be the way to go. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about how consumers consume these platforms. Okay. Now, think about how you consume magazines, national television, local television, terrestrial radio, podcasts, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Let's just use Rolling Stone magazine as an example. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a fan of Rolling Stone and you're paging through the latest issue and you see an article about one of your favorite artists, what do?
I stop and I read it if I can.
Right.
Right. It's my favorite artist. I'm starting there. I'm flipping through the magazine. I'm going to start with who I'm interested in.
Yeah.
I'll get at the rest if I can.
Right. Do you read the whole magazine? No.
Nah.
Cover to cover? No.
No.
Now, if you're paging through and you see a headline about an artist that you haven't heard of, ... First off, did you see it? Did you read the headline and stop and consider, well, this is an artist that I've never heard of. Should I spend the time to read this article? Did you even take the time to think about not doing it or doing it? You most likely didn't even see it because it wasn't a name that you recognized.
Mm-hmm. As Billy Joel said, there's a new band in town, but you can't catch a sound from a story in a magazine.
Exactly correct. Okay. That's so brilliant. Thank you.
Billy Joel.
So if you did see it, did you spend the time to read the article so that you could discover a new artist? No. So whatever
our listeners might a little bit because that is their broader area of interest, but most people are not.
No.
Like the climbers out there are way more thoroughbred in that aspect, and they probably still don't. But if anybody will, it's ours. Right.
I don't.
I don't either.
Nobody does. I mean, that's just human nature.
Right.
That's the whole thing. So think about this. Whatever the outlet is that you would like to be interviewed on, okay, whatever their audience is, because of your brand, you are not going to get, if Rolling Stone, let's say, had, God, I don't even know what it is these days. It's probably, 100,000 people, maybe, right? But let's say there's 100,000 people that are reading Rolling Stone. Does that mean 100,000 eyeballs are going to read about you?
Nope.
No, it doesn't. It means you're in the magazine.
Mm-hmm.
But it does not mean that you're going to be heard, that your interview will be consumed because they don't know who you are, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's consumer consumption for it. Now, let's talk about bigger brand name artists, okay? The value, and again, this is all under the, what's the value? The bigger brand name artist, the value for a bigger brand name artist is repetition. With PR. That's why it's worth $1,500 to $5,000 a month. Why? Because I'm going to be able to get into a lot of different media outlets, magazines, local television, national television, interviews on the radio, podcast interviews, all this stuff. They're undoubtedly being interviewed by many other platforms. They're on TV, radio. They're also on tour, okay? Mm-hmm. And those dates are being promoted, and they're on all the Spotify playlists. So they're everywhere.
Yeah.
And this one interview is a solid brick in a wall of repetition that continues to improve the artist's brand name and their marquee value.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So let's talk about you, baby artists. The value for baby artists depends on the infrastructure of the repetition that is set up for that artist, right? So what does that mean? Well, if you were a baby artist on a major label back before streaming, then they were likely doing they're going to, reach out to all their PR people, and they're going to start, talking about you in these different magazines. And it makes sense because they're also got a radio promotion department that's working to get you spins. Mm-hmm. And you've got a music video that's going to be on MTV, right?
Right.
So maybe I look at that article, I don't know your name, and I don't see it. But then I turn on the TV and there you are.
Yeah.
Or then I turn on the radio and there you are, right? And so all of a sudden, there's this name I don't understand, but it's everywhere, right?
Reaching
You're on
frequency.
tour opening up for so-and-so.
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe then I'm going to go back and I'm going to read that article because why do I keep seeing this? Who is this person, right? So, if you're hitting on all the Spotify editorial playlists and you're out on tour as a baby artist, okay, like regularly doing, 150 dates a year, and you're repetitively showing up in consumer social media feeds, then the exposure will add to your repetition infrastructure. If you're not any of these places, nobody's going to read the article. And the few that do will instantly forget you because they saw you for the first time in this article and they never saw you again.
Right.
You weren't in their feed. You weren't on a billboard. You weren't on the radio. You're not on TV. You're not on the playlist I like to listen to. So bye-bye.
Yeah.
I don't in and out, right? So it doesn't work.
There's a book I read that talks about being top of mind, and it likens it to an escalator. You're on a down escalator. The attention, the target person's attention is the top floor, and you're standing on the down escalator. And so as soon as you pop up to the top step, they go, "Oh, okay, I see you. I notice you. You have my attention for a moment." If you don't do anything, it just takes you all the way back down to the bottom. You got to keep climbing up to the top of that escalator to keep getting refreshed in their mind.
Yes, exactly. Okay. So, and escalator is really a good analogy for that, a good example, because unlike radio, terrestrial radio, or MTV back, or BET, or the CMT, when before streaming, that was the only place we could hear it. So we were watching it all the time, and you're on a playlist and it's repeated over and over constantly at the top of the escalator. But the reason the escalator makes so much sense is because in social media, you're in the feed, and then 2 seconds later, you're down the feed.
Yeah.
Right. So, it has to be, it's a constant exercise of getting to the top of the escalator because it's constantly moving down. You're not in any kind of rotation. Okay. So, all right. Next, let's talk about playlists. Playlist promotion, right? Playlist promotion has its pros and its cons for indie artists. Okay. We've used a playlist promotion company for, I think it's like 7 years now. We've used the same company, The Legit. They work with Atlantic Records, Interscope. They've worked with Lee Brice. They've worked with Carrie Underwood. They've worked with Rihanna. I mean, this is like a legit company. Okay. And from the data that I see on these playlists when it comes to indie artists, it's going to read the same as if you were on an editorial playlist for Spotify. Okay. In the sense that, if you look at, like, for instance, new music, new country music, the new country playlist comes out every Friday. You'll see on a regular basis, Spotify is becoming like increasingly more democratic. They've got at least one handful, if not two handfuls, of indie artists with less than 100,000 monthly listeners. Right. So, so there's lots of indie artists that are getting on these playlists, and I guarantee you these numbers will look the same. Why? Because they're indie artists. They don't have a brand name yet. And so what is that? Like the app, it's important to distinguish between how many streams you get and what those streams mean, right? Because they don't mean that you have this person, that all these people have a relationship with your song. Right?
Right.
So what do I mean by that? Well, what is the greater New York area population? Is it like 15 million?
I have no idea.
20 million. Okay. So let's just say it's like 15 million, right? So if you get a spin before streaming, right? Before streaming comes out, if you get a spin in the early 2000s or before on New York terrestrial radio, and let's say that
About
every single
23.5 million.
23.5 million. Okay. So, and every single person in New York was listening to the radio at the same time that your spin happened. That's like 23.5 million streams.
Yeah.
And everybody heard it once.
Right.
So you get
that
one
is a small
spin.
pebble in a very big lake.
Yeah.
With like no ripple.
Yeah. So what's my point here? My point is, you've heard Brent and I talk about artists that we know that have 20, 30, 40 million streams, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is it's a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
But they still can't sell out my office, right? Why? Because they got on playlists. That's a good thing to get on playlists, but it's program traffic. They're being consumed because they're just the next song on the playlist, not because anybody gives a crap about them or knows who they are or has a relationship with the song.
Right.
Right. And on all the playlist promotions that I've ever done with artists and varying degrees of subjectively varying degrees of how good the song is, you know what I mean? Like they're all competitive, but some of them are bangers, and they do better than others. But the average stream per listener is a real solid, like 1.4 to 1.5 streams per listener.
Yeah.
So on 100,000 streams, that means 60,000 people heard the song one time, 70,000 people heard it one time, and 30,000 people heard it twice.
Yeah.
That's what that means, because the playlists are big. Yeah. Right. So it's different than and on those playlist promotions, when the campaign ends, the traffic dies off. Your monthly listeners go down. And I did this research. We had that just to put a little bow on the interview we had with Brent Michael Wood on that different marketing thing that we started. The amount of increase expressed in a percentage, like how many more streams he got after each of the three campaigns ended. After the first playlist campaign with a song called Burn, he's gotten an additional almost 11% more streams, right? Okay. And so what I did was take the total amount of streams, like the other day when I did this math, I subtracted how many streams he had when the campaign ended on that day. And that leaves me with a number left over. I divided that into the amount of streams that he got during the campaign, and that's the percentage, right? So 10%. The second release playlist campaign was like 9.8%, right? Mine was like almost 300% more. More. Yeah. Right? So, I mean, like when the campaign ended, he was at 10,100 streams. It's now at 28,000 streams. So almost 200% more. Yeah. So why? Because they're listening to the song.
They're building a relationship with the song and the artist.
Building a relationship with the song. Why? Because they've heard it more times. Right? So but a brand name, when Tim McGraw gets his brand new single, his brand new release on a brand new playlist, he's not going to have numbers that look like that.
No.
Right, his average streams per listener is going to be way higher, because they're going to be like, I'm a biggest Tim McGraw fan on the planet. I'm going to save that. It goes right into my personal playlist, and I'm going to love this song. Yep, and I'm prepared to love it because I know Tim McGraw, I know his voice, and everything's it's all there.
On repeat,
you know what I mean?
Baby. Yeah.
So playlist promotion. I mean, if you can get on an editorial playlist, man, that's freaking awesome. God bless. But for the promotion part of it, like the pros on that are literally optics. That can be very powerful. I mean, we've used that to get some of our artists into better venues because they tour, right? So they can get into a AAA club. But we've had artists too who suck at social media, who just don't do it.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, during the playlist campaign, they're at 100,000 monthly listeners. That looks really impressive. If the booker at the venue goes to the next step and wants to look at their socials and sees that they're non-existent, it's kept them out of a few clubs too.
Yeah.
Because it looks disingenuous. It looks like a promotion, which is great. Hey, you're promoting, but this isn't going to put butts in seats in my venue. You have no value to add to me.
Yeah.
Right? So, the save rate, the residual streams that happen after a brand name artist comes out with the single are vastly different than what you're going to get on a playlist promotion, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's why. That's the deal. So yeah, I mean, with the playlist promotions that we've done, I've probably done like maybe 30 or 40 of them. It's like as soon as the campaign ends, the monthly listeners begin declining. It takes 28 days to get back to zero, but they begin declining. If we're promoting a different way, digitally, like we did with Brent Michael Wood, then they increase after the campaign is done. Why? Because if the song is good and we've structured the campaign to make sure that we're getting these consumers to hear that song 7, 8, 9, 10 times, it's going to catch on.
Yeah.
Right? So, all right, let's talk about
this will be a marathon today.
Radio. Yeah, I'm trying to speed this up here, but terrestrial radio.
Should we do a two-parter? Should we do a two-parter?
Maybe we can. I don't
Depends
know. Possibly.
You got a couple points left? Okay.
So terrestrial radio for and I'm going to go back to the thing I said at the beginning of this episode. Major labels are not breaking artists anymore.
Right.
They have admitted this. This isn't my opinion. They've said it. So they have moved into a far different category. They're not developing talent anymore the way that they used to, from a diamond in the rough into a household name. Now they're taking, huge, they're taking big businesses, they're taking high 6-figure and 7-figure indie artists and turning them into 8-figure artists, right? That's what's happening, or 9-figure artists. That's what they're doing. All right. And they're still trying to do it with radio. Now, radio, the efficacy for radio as a second stage rocket, to quote the great Brent Baxter, is still there. It still works, right? But it's extremely expensive because it still costs the same, whether it's P1 radio or whether it's secondary radio. It's still the same price, even though everybody admits that radio doesn't work like it used to. Not even close.
Yeah.
But it still costs the same to get your song on that playlist, right? The promotion. And it still pays the same, right? In publishing.
Yeah.
So it's you're going to go on secondary radio, right? I mean, I mentioned this before in another podcast where I'm in a meeting with a huge producer whose name that and they're working with this artist who's got financial backers. He's got a great song. It's been produced like a gem because of the producer, and they've spent $25,000 on secondary radio promotion. They're in the top 30, and they got 4,600 monthly listeners on Spotify. It's not translating. And when I asked the question, hey, where's the ROI on this? There must be ROI for you to spend $25,000, right? And you're thinking about doing it again. What are the biggest markets that you have on radio right now? And how many more tickets have you sold in those markets for the live show? Because it's not happening on Spotify, which means it's not happening anywhere else, right? It's not like he's a superstar on Apple Music and a ghost on Spotify. That's not the case. So where's the ROI, right? It doesn't build anymore. It doesn't build anymore because not enough people are listening to the radio. And that's just it. Like, what you really want is market penetration, not radio.
Yeah.
And radio delivers the market penetration, right? So if there's nothing happening repetitively on a platform that's actually being consumed by the masses, then radio's not going to help you. You know? But if money was no object and you could get on radio, and let's say you had a slightly bigger brand, but you're not like big enough, could really help with digital behind that, right? Where it's like, okay, here's the markets that are spinning us a lot. Let's just dump a bunch of money in on digital advertising too. So
Yeah.
if they're listening to the radio, then they're also seeing it in their feed.
Yeah.
And so you're nailing it there, you know. But otherwise, not going to happen. And how, you know, how many spins a week are you getting? You know, it's not creating what you want it to, the magic you want to happen, which is market penetration, which is the reason like an Eric Lee Bedingfield, who had the most spun indie record on secondary radio of 2012, to this day, 13 years later, can go to freaking Mizzou, right? Columbia, Missouri, and sell out a bar at $25 a ticket. Because he had so many spins from that record in that market, they'll never forget him.
Yeah.
You know, they have a relationship with the artist and with the song. But, you know, you also have to remember too, that with radio, what comes first in the relationship? It's the music. Not the artist. It's the music. Right. And so you fall in love with the song and then you go seek out the artist. Okay. So for indie artists, I mean, even if a major, like God, even if you get signed to a major deal and they're like, we're going to put you on radio now. It sounds exciting, but man, I don't know. The juice isn't going to be worth the squeeze. You know what I mean? Like, don't let them spend your budget that way if you can help it. It's their money and they get to do whatever they want. You probably don't have that much of a say in it, but it's not really going to break you. And I would ask the questions, hey, where's the ROI on this? You know, so I got, you know, 10,000 spins. Awesome. Where's the payoff? Right? Or is it like, you know, your top 30? That's fantastic. That plus $2.50 will get you a cup of coffee at Starbucks.
Yeah.
You know? All right. Let's talk about direct support slots.
Especially, by the way, if you're an artist that didn't write your single, you don't get the performance royalties in the US.
Yeah.
So you're not even getting some of that back as like royalties. That's just free.
And if it's not increasing your brand enough, I mean, the only way that I can see that you could measure the success of radio today would be like, I'm spinning this song like crazy on radio and it's blowing up on Spotify. Or I'm spinning this song like crazy on radio and in this market now we're selling way more tickets.
Yeah.
Right? That would be the only two places that you would be able to quantify that. Okay? Because you don't know who heard it. You don't know who liked it. You don't know who didn't like it. You don't know you know, who heard it and then immediately went to consume it on Spotify, etc. So it really boils down. And by the way, different for an artist with a brand name.
Oh yeah.
Right? If I'm Tim McGraw and I'm getting spins and then you're like, oh, the new Tim McGraw single's out now, I'm immediately going to Spotify or wherever I stream music and I'm going to save that song.
Yeah. They just needed to let me know about it.
Yeah, exactly.
They didn't need to sell me on it. They just need to let me know about it.
Right. So Tim McGraw's not trying to break. He's just distributing some more music now to loyal fan base, and they are ready, willing, and aiming to listen to it. And however that smoke signal gets there, if it's social media, if it's radio, if it's TV, if it's a magazine or whatever, they're out there talking about it, and then they're going to go find it because they love that artist. But that's not your story.
Yeah.
You know, that's not your story yet. Yeah. And so this isn't going to help you, right? It's still way expensive, and spending that money elsewhere is a far more intelligent use of that budget.
Yeah. So
direct support slots going out on tour. on this one, for a brand name artist that goes out that puts butts in seats, you are adding value to the headliner. What does the headliner want? The headliner wants to sell tickets.
Yep.
They want a sold out show every single night because then they get to say they were sold out. And because they're the headliner, the sellout is their fault, not yours.
Exactly.
Even if it's 1984 on the beginning of the Pyromania tour, and you're Def Leppard opening up for Billy Squier, who's a big, huge star, but you're selling more tickets than Billy Squier is.
Yeah.
Okay. Even then, sold out, Billy gets the headline, not you. It's his fault.
Opening acts never sell out.
That's right. That's right. There you go. There you go. So, you can buy onto tours. This is nothing new, right? Part of your record deal back in the 80s and the 90s and the 70s was tour support.
Yeah.
Right. We're going to give you money because you're only going to make maybe $2,000 a night on tour, which is not enough to pay for the bus and the crew.
Yeah.
And all of, the gas and the hotels and all that stuff. And so we're going to, the label's going to pay for that in the form of tour support to get you out there because, we need to get you exposed. We need to show you to as many people as possible, as often as possible, right?
Because we need to move some merch, baby. That's where the record labels made their money.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have some albums for sale.
And so, a lot of people think to themselves like, oh, this would be great if I could just get on this tour, right? It would change the world and I would be on my way. Which may be true if that tour is a component of of some sort of repetitive exposure mechanism that you've set up to continue to push your music out, right? I'll remind you again about, Guns N' Roses, that Appetite for Destruction record, biggest record in the history of the music industry, the best-selling debut album from a debut artist in the history of the music industry, was a stiff for the first year, and they almost got dropped from the label. Like, they were one day away from doing it. Because they weren't on the radio, because they weren't on MTV. Mm-hmm. There was no repetitive infrastructure that was set up yet for them. They just couldn't make it happen. But they did get the Aerosmith tour, and they went out with the Cult for a little bit too, and they went out with a couple other bands. But Aerosmith, by far the biggest tour. Those touring efforts were good for 60,000 records, not enough to keep your major label deal.
Wow.
But I was just talking about this with Tim Gaines last night. Like, go back to thinking about how it's consumed, right? So for me, southeastern Wisconsin, Alpine Valley was the shed, man. That was the place where I saw, the lion's share of shows. It was an outdoor theater in a natural ravine. It could hold 60,000 people. And it's there's one like this in Nashville now, south. I think it's in Franklin. It's called the Bank One Center. It looks like a little mini Red Rocks.
Oh, cool.
And
they used to have Starwood Amphitheater over on Antioch that went out several years ago.
Well, the reason I mentioned this particular place is because it reminded me of Alpine Valley in the sense that it's really effing hard to get to, right? and because it's not like off a highway, it's a 2-lane friggin' road for a couple miles to get to the parking lot. So as you can imagine, with the 2-lane road and the Grateful Dead or AC/DC or Aerosmith or Bon Jovi or Def Leppard come to town, you're going to be waiting in the car a little bit after the show, right? So think about how the opening slot is consumed, okay? And let's just assume, for the sake of this argument, that you're going to blow people's minds.
Yeah.
All right? So you go to the show. First of all, did you get there early?
Right.
Okay. Because not everybody's there for the opener, right? They bought tickets to see the headliner, but let's say half the people show up early. They get there. Now, keep in mind, they don't know who you are. You're a baby act. You're like Guns N' Roses on the Aerosmith tour. You're not on the radio. You're not on MTV. There's nothing repetitive happening. They're trying, but it's not working yet. But you are out on tour. So how many of those people are going to show up for opener that they know? way more than showing up for an opener that they don't know.
Correct.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're like me, you're a music fan, you're also a musician, and you're like, you know what, I go to early every show. I want to see the opening act,
Yeah.
unless I know that I don't like them, then I'm not going. But otherwise, like it's a more bang for the buck. Let's go see what's going on, So they go there, you come out, you melt their freaking faces, and people are, freaking out. You sell some merch, everything's great. You're out there working the room. And then, less than an hour later, here comes the headliner.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what they paid to see.
Mm-hmm.
So now you are out of sight, out of mind, and they are focused on the evening that they paid for, which is the headliner.
Yeah.
And they're going crazy. The show ends. It was awesome. You're walking out of, for me, it's Alpine Valley, going back to the car. And you're probably talking about that opening act, man. Like Guns N' Roses were freaking amazing, man. That is great. What were they called again? What was their name?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, I like that one song. It was cool. And then you get in the car where you're going to wait for 4 hours to get out of this mess. Because God knows how many cars does it take to distribute 60,000 people? I mean, it's probably like 40,000 cars,
Mm-hmm.
and it's going to take a while to get them out of that parking lot and get you home. And what are you doing? You're talking about it and you're listening to the radio.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not there. Or you're talking about it, you're on your phone.
Mm-hmm.
You're not there. You know what I mean? So do those support slots, are they is the juice worth the squeeze there? I mean, it depends on the headliner. It's ensuring that their audience is somebody that's going to be your audience,
Mm-hmm.
and also what else is going on, for an artist that goes out and has a brand name already, that's the opening slot. They're going to do a lot better on that tour than an unknown artist going out there and doing that. And so you're spending a lot of money to basically go everywhere one time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So, I think there's ways that you can digitally make that better. If you're, I'm thinking of Rick. Oh my God, I'm forgetting his last name right now.
Oh, Rick Barker.
No, he was an artist. Rick.
James Astley, Springfield.
No, none of those people. But a buddy of mine,
Monroe.
Rick Monroe. Thank you.
I'll get to the Ricks eventually.
Yeah, Rick Monroe. I mean, he's endorsed by one of the energy drinks. I can't remember which one. And his business is grossing $400,000 a year. Right? It's got a full band. They all do it full time. They got a Sprinter van and a trailer, and they're all around the country all the time. And he's the only one so far that, while he was doing it, really, really sold the text capture from the stage.
Yeah.
Where it's like, hey, text this number, get a free download. He sold it, and he would regularly get 15 to 20% of the audience that was in attendance would get that free download, and he'd get the device ID.
Heck yeah.
There's ways to build on that, but if you're not doing that, or you're not setting that up, then it's not so that then you can provide repetition to them through either text messages or emails. Then you don't have it set up, and these are expensive. This is an expensive run, So that there's a difference between breaking down, watching, and executing what you see your favorite artists doing versus what they had to do to break.
Yeah.
Right. And so you really need to be looking not so much at your favorite top of the food chain artists, but, go looking through Spotify to find some artists that are 100,000, 200,000, 300,000 monthly listeners, and go discover them, not for their music, for their marketing strategies. What are they doing? Where else are they? What's happening? Where's all the press on this artist, right? It should be on the website. Where are they spending their money, and how are they spending it? And where do I see them, and what's going on?
Yeah.
And I think that is going to be a truer North Star for you than trying to replicate what a major label does, just because you got an investor or whatever. Because once again, why would you replicate what they're doing when they're not breaking artists? Right? We had the guys from Mubu TV on here, and they're like, yeah, BMG, 3% of their revenue corporately last year came from new artists. 3%. 97% was catalog stuff.
Yeah.
Artists that already broke. So, guys, I promise you, the rest of Sony, Universal, Warner, they all look the same with that. Okay. So, be careful who you're looking at, who you're learning from, right? And know that there is a difference between the tactics that you use now to be known, to be heard, to be discovered, than after you're discovered.
Right.
There's different strategies, different tactics, and always approach it that way. And I think you're going to save a boatload of money. So that's all I got to say about that, guys. I know we ran a little long there, but I think
it's good stuff though, man. And I would encourage people to listen to the Brent Michael Wood episode, because that pairs really well with this. Obviously you referenced it several times, but that really dives into like, what is a stream versus what is a stream that counts more, that kind of stuff. So
yeah, listen, so all streams are good because all streams pay the same, right?
Yes.
But when you're talking about,
some have secondary and tertiary benefits.
Yes, and when you're talking about trying to break, when you're talking about trying to build a fan base, not all streams create fan bases. Intentional streams create fan bases. Program streams, playlist streams do not. Right. But so if you can get on the editorials, which are free, right? God bless you. That's great. You're going to make money, but you're not going to break there. Okay. I mean, the best you can hope for is that it goes so freaking viral like Dasha that you're going to get a lot of attention and maybe a label deal. Yeah. But even then, if you're not that high 6-figure, 7-figure artist, when that happens, when that blessing occurs to you, then you're going to get a lot of attention and some really crappy deal offers.
There you go.
I mean, ask Cody Johnson, ask Granger Smith. They turned down record deals for 5 years, not because they wanted to be douchebags, but because the deal sucked and it wasn't right for them.
Yeah.
And the record deal wasn't the goal. The goal was improve the fan base, keep growing the fan base. This is a business that needs to run. We can't afford a Super Bowl commercial. What I mean? Like, we can't. So we're not going to try to pay for it, right? It's not going to do us any good. So there you go. All right, guys, that's it. Make sure you follow the podcast and join the Climb community. This podcast exists because we want you to win, so keep on climbing.
And we'll see you at the top.
Who ride a greyhound all night long, standing like